we're just about good to go here. All right, so excellent. So next up here, we have Dungeon Magic by iast. Ready when you are.
Alrighty. Alright. So I just want to preface before the run starts. So if you see, we got space barred here, and you see this scroll, this slow-moving space field here, that is not for dramatic effect, and you'll soon see what I mean. Alright, ready on time? Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
So iast selects Gren here. He has the most convenient and powerful of the basic attacks. It actually has just punching things instead of using a sword is just more effective.
Yeah, knock on wood. So these first rooms basically just kind of manipulating enemies around to get by him. And this actually has a nasty beginner trick. If you go straight for the exit, you get hit by that flower's pollen. And then this is the first potential RNG to run here. And that wasn't too bad. I normally want the Amazons to be thrown in the same direction, but it's largely dependent on when they decide to go at me. And we're going to douse this fire with a barrel, get our magic stock replenished.
Yeah, that fire explosion attack he used was a magic attack, which he has a limited number of stocks of and has to pick up throughout the stage in order to replenish.
All right, and that there was the first instance of Gren's Infinite, and it's basically you do the first 3 hits of a string, pause, and then repeat, and that's where his high DPS comes from. All right, that jump there, it's a little tricky to do off the conveyor belt. I want to jump onto that chest and then onto the other side. And now we're going to learn how to fillet a snake.
So yeah, this is the first boss of any sort in the game, and this boss is interesting because while he has a lot of segments, the only things you can really hit are the head and any number of segments at the same time and to do damage. So even if he hits, say, 6 segments at the same time, it generally doesn't do multiple damage.
All right, and that was actually a good pattern he went for. If he goes around me, I can pop a spell on him, and because it hits multiple parts of his body at once, it does a ton of damage. And that was actually a really good snake right there.
Yeah, that was beautiful. A lot of this game, as far as the speedrun route, is just knowing where to go. A lot of these are just big mazes, and you can kind of see a split second of the map screen show up. So just taking direct routes to where he needs to go, and knowing the very eccentric triggers to many of the rooms to exit them. So far, they've mostly been pretty tame, like hitting a switch or defeating all the enemies, but they start getting pretty off the wall.
I'm going to jump up here, pick up, this is an ice elemental weapon for Gren, and it's not going to be immediately useful, but for stage 2 it'll come in handy a whole lot.
One of the side effects it does have is that when it freezes these enemies, the breaking apart animation does create some lag, but it is very worth it later on.
Yeah, and that, speaking of the lag, so they did not put their A team when they were porting this game from the arcade. This version has it's about a minute and a half slower just because of all that lag.
And when he was punching the lizard man, you could see it said hit weak above him, and that indicates that he's weak to the weapon that he has now, which is the ice magic, or the ice gauntlets. And so it does double damage on every attack.
Alright, so first main boss here. First thing you want to do is get rid of his lackeys there. I soften those up. And then you want to try to keep the Dark Knight on the right. And the key thing with this battle is you want to try to not have him and his sword get too far apart from one another. Because otherwise that sword, it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, it just starts flying around in big spirals trying to get back to the Dark Knight. So by having him knocked down right on top of it, he just picks it up immediately.
I'm going to go over here because I want to try to finish him off towards the center of the room. There we go. And that just kind of minimalizes how far he has to travel to finish his death animation.
Then we get a whole bunch of story, which conveniently can be skipped instantly.
Yeah, that is a very nice thing about this game. And of course we get our Spoils of War and our first level up. So the score in this game acts as your experience, and you hit certain plateaus. You gain levels. Levels increase your max HP and it decreases how long it takes to charge up your supercharge attack. Okay, a little bit unfortunate RNG there. Those werewolves just like to fall off those stairs sometimes. All right,
Nice.
we got Casual Kobo in the house.
Doesn't even mind that we broke the table behind him. It's all gonna be all right.
All right, so I have to trigger that hologram thing to appear to get the next wave of enemies so I can open the door.
Yeah. And all of these lizard men he's fighting are weak to ice. So
Yeah, so this is where that's why I picked up that ice weapon. There's a lot of enemies in this stage that are vulnerable to ice elemental. And Gren's especially useful because he's one of 2 characters in the game that gets damage bonuses off his normal attacks.
yeah. And that's because the game actually cares about you using the correct thing to do that. So for instance, for Gren, all of his attacks that use his gauntlets, so his basic punches, are going to count as ice elemental. But if he used an attack that pulled out his sword and swung it, it would actually not be treated as an ice elemental because it's just a sword.
That's a tricky part with these mimics here is you don't have much of a window to hit them before they stick their tongues out fully. And now the moment that this run's been leading up to, we get to punch a snake.
And we're going to punch him a lot. So yeah, good positioning here kind of messes up the boss's AI pattern quite a bit.
Yeah, the important thing is you don't want to go too far to upper left because then he starts getting real antsy about his personal space. And that was a good Viper right there. So he barfs to death, gives us a magic stock, it's all good.
And there's some frogs inside there.
Yeah, don't worry about those.
Well, he probably ate them whole, so.
All right, and then we're gonna punch this specific pillar right there because reasons.
Yeah, that's a great example of how confusing getting through this game can be when you don't know what to do. Because I don't know how you would ever anticipate that punching a random pillar would open the door, but that's how it does it.
All right, and here's the potentially most dangerous room in the game. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. I wanted to play that a little safe there. If you don't group those lizards up the right way, things go real south fast. We go from this most dangerous room to the most dangerous boss for reasons that will soon become apparent.
This room is also one of the ones that suffered the most from the porting as far as lag.
All right, brace yourselves. All right. Okay, good. I got that off.
Yeah, the lag eats inputs badly, so getting that magic off can be impossible. It can be literally impossible.
Pretty much. And so the rest of this fight's mostly straightforward. There's not really anything that Queen's player can do here. You just have to make sure she doesn't flatten you. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. She's got a pretty big hitbox there. I ended up dropping a hit there, so... But it's okay. She just needs 1 hit left. Oh yeah, these skeletons can be kind of jerks too.
I don't remember the last time I've seen that hair whip.
Yeah,
It's a pretty cool attack.
yeah, she's actually got some decent attacks. You just don't see them because infinite is a thing.
Yep.
All right, so this next stage coming up. So this stage had a lot of combat in it. Stage 3 is probably the biggest in terms of puzzle solving. And as you've seen, the term puzzle solving is used very loosely in this game. So this first room actually has 3 paths you can take out of it. The other 2 are hidden. I'd go with the obvious one because it takes you through the fewest number of rooms. It's just the most direct route in general. And then there's another instance of that Gren spell being really useful to get rid of some riffraff there. Alright, so punch here, manipulate that skeleton to teleport, punch this. And getting hit with that lightning was actually somewhat intentional. It's technically possible to dodge that lightning, but it's somewhat random in where it decides to land. And we're going to get our final weapon switch here, the Evil Buster. Again, not immediately useful, but at the end of the game, it's a godsend. Alright, so let's move on here a little bit further. And this next part is pretty apparent, so if we have any donations, that would probably be a good time.
Nothing right now, but as you guys know, we are here to support Doctors Without Borders. Any and every donation you guys could put in definitely helps and is greatly appreciated.
Alright, so the objective of this stage is we have these three... Oh, that guy tried to go for something. Well, yeah, we have to break open these 3 crystals to get to the boss. And the interesting thing about this stage is that depending on what order you do the rooms in, it changes how certain enemies or traps are active.
Yeah, it's extremely easy to get lost in these normally. With all the awkward triggers and just the map not being particularly detailed.
That is true. Basically, in this game, if you punch something or bash it open, and if it doesn't freeze you, zap you, or set you on fire, you're probably on the right track. And sometimes they'll still do that anyways.
Yep. And this is a pretty basic switch puzzle. It's set, so just don't need to learn anything about it. Just do it.
Yeah, the worst thing you can have if you mess up that switches is that it can reset, or sometimes I think later in the puzzle, it can end up dropping boulders on you. I'm just going to damage boost through there to get to this crystal here. Yeah, those skeletons are usually benign. They'll cause trouble once in a blue moon, but they never behave pretty nice to you here. Now for this room.
How to exit room. Smash all the coffins.
Alright, looking good. Alright, that was a good elevator room. So the reason I leave that coffin on the right for last is because white and brown skeletons, they really like to teleport behind your attacks. So I take out the white skeleton with the red one first, and then save the brown one for last. So we are actually bad. We were in this room earlier, but now it's purple, and for whatever reason, purple adds a lot of lag. I'm gonna do some little awkward jumping here, and you want to jump between these statues, or you end up grabbing one of those skeletons there.
Yeah, and the navigation on the isometric view can be pretty tricky to not just run into traps. Oh, you want up there.
Oops, there we go.
Yeah, that particular knight can be nasty if he decides to stay up there, but...
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Alright, so now for the most intense boss of the game.
So unlike the Spider Queen, he does not have a reactionary jump away at all. And that's rather unfortunate for him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a rage quit jump too.
Nice. Yeah, when he dies, every once in a while he decides he's just going to jump to some random location. And kind of stalls for time a bit, but...
Yeah, pretty much.
Not much to do about it, just something that happens.
Level up.
Alright, so this final stage coming up is probably the simplest of them. There's no branching paths or exploration aspects. It's just a gauntlet straight to the final boss. And I end up having to use that spell stock in the earlier fight, so this changes this up a little bit here. mostly with these dogs. They're the most annoying part of this room. Yeah, and these enemies are another one that like to counterattack too. There's a whole bunch of enemies in this game that the Infinite is especially useful on because they have a random chance of countering you out of their hit stun. Nice play.
Yeah, the dogs are pretty short.
Nice. Yeah, so the easiest way to hit guy, and that was rather unfortunate there. There's really no good way to deal with these guys unless you have a spell on hand.
Fortunately, the game does give him an extra extend at the start, so still on 1 credit clear track.
Very much so. Get that back. Finish this guy off. All right. And now we're gonna run into an old friend.
He's upgraded his equipment a bit, and the shield can do some really special things.
Yeah, so I basically want to give a wide berth to the shield because it has that laser, and the laser itself is not very damaging, but it does like a million years of hit stun to you. And of course, we got that also fabulous sword of his still flowing around.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also the hitbox on it is slightly disjointed if you haven't been able to tell by now.
yeah, it's your movement isn't even really particularly fast enough to avoid it, depending on the patterns it gives. But
All right. So we're gonna get ourselves our own shield here for the final boss.
yeah, the shield is going to be really useful. It just automatically blocks attacks, so
Yeah, the
it's-
shield itself can take any 3 attacks at all before it fails. All right, final confrontation. Gotta pump ourselves up.
And now is where when grabbing the Evil Buster much earlier in the route is going to be important.
Oh yeah.
Because as it turns out, he's one of the few enemies who's weak to it.
So I want to try to keep him up here, and mostly his fight is punch him and pray he's not a jerk. Because he can do a couple nasty things.
Fortunately, the shield eliminates most of his attacks, at least while it survives. He's not happy today.
No, not a whole lot. So, luckily there's a backup shield down here. That might come in handy. Oh man, he's got a temper today.
Yeah, a lot of his attacks are just so gigantic that even with the shield, you really just have to let him do them.
All right, that's okay. I'd rather get hit by the him in the air there than by the actual. Okay, now he is civilly upset, but
Okay.
that doesn't matter. So that attack he did where he set himself on fire, once he gets below 50% health, there's just a random chance he'll do that without a hit stun, and it's basically you either have a shield or pray for the best.
Yeah, that was a pretty awful pattern overall.
Yeah, he
Usually
was.
he takes a lot more consecutive punches before he just gets knocked down.
Yeah. All right, ready on time. Time. So yeah, rocks fall, everyone dies. Oh wait, I lied. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up here. It pretty much speaks for itself.
But yeah, Gretton is totally not Guts, by the way, and totally doesn't do the exact storyline to that.
Totally not. Original, do not steal.
Yep.
All right, that was Dungeon Magic. Hope you enjoyed that, everyone.